Hello everyone and welcome back to the PHP Basics series. And in today's episode 5, we're diving into something super important that are arrays. Arrays are how PHP stores multiple values in a single variable. We'll look at indexed arrays, associative arrays, and multidimensional arrays, and how to loop through them. Plus, I will share some essential array functions that will make your life a lot easier. So let's jump right in. First of all, what are arrays? Arrays are just a variable which I use to store multiple items. First, let's start with an indexed array, which is just a normal array. Now, first let me start my Apache server and then go into my htdocs folder, and inside htdocs I have opened VS Code inside PHP Basics, and this is the code from our previous video. Now, in order to explain index arrays, I'll have to make an index array. So first I'll make an array called colors, and inside this we can store items using comma. So we can store multiple items, right? And to store or group those items we use a square bracket. So inside we will be storing the names of colors, so those will be strings, so we'll use a set of double quotes, and we'll be storing first of all red. This is one item, and after that, in order to store another item, I'll use a comma and then another set of quotation marks, so green and blue, right? So these are three items that I stored inside an array, and this is what arrays do. They store multiple items. So these are just simple lists where each item is assigned a number starting from 0. It's like numbering boxes on a shelf. So this box will get a number of 0, this will get a number of 1, and this will get a number of 2. Now, if we want to access any of these boxes, we will have to use their respective index along with the name of their array. So suppose we want to access green, right? Now, if you remember, 0 and then 1. So this is green's number is 1. So if you want to access that green string, we'll have to type out echo colors, and then in our square brackets we'll have to type out its index. So since its index is 1, I'll type out 1 and hit a semicolon. Now if we want to check these results, if we want to check these results, I'll go on to type out localhost and then the name of our folder and the name of our file, so it echoes out green. So if you want to access blue, 2. Now if we refresh, it accesses blue. So yeah, that is how you access elements inside an array. Now, index arrays are great for storing things like lists of colors, scores, or product names. And they're easy to create and super useful when you need a sequence of items. Moving on from index arrays, we have associative arrays, and it's a bit different from what index arrays are. Inside associative arrays, instead of using numbers, we use named keys, kind of like labeling each box with a word instead of a number. So if we create an array called a person, this is an associative array, so we'll be using indexes. So we'll be using keys. So first of all, our key will be name, and then an arrow symbol, and then its value, our name's value, will be Alice. After that, a comma, and another key will be age, and its value will be a number, which will be 25. Okay, and after that, let's end this with a semicolon. And now, instead of saying index 0, we say name, and it gives us Alice. This is perfect for data that has structure like user profiles, settings, or any object that can have any property. And it's much easier to remember a key, suppose age, rather than what an index might be. So, like I said, if I want to access a person's name, we can do it just in the way of an index. So we can do echo and then person, and inside our square brackets, instead of its index, we'll type out its key, so name. Now this should give out Alice if we refresh, as you can see. So associative arrays make your code more readable and meaningful, and that is all about associative arrays. Now, if you combine simple arrays, that is indexed arrays, or multiple arrays, or both, we can get multidimensional arrays. And multidimensional arrays is just a fancy word for arrays inside arrays. Now, in the example I'm going to present, first let me make a multidimensional array. So first of all, I'll make an array called students. First of all, create an array, and inside this array, I'll create another array, and this will be an associative array. So name, and the value of name will be Bob, and then let's say Bob's age, a comma, and let's say Bob's age is 20. After that, I'll create another array, and inside it'll have the same properties, that is our keys. So name, and name's value will be Jane. So Jane's age will be 22. Oh, I'm sorry, I should close the square bracket here. So these are our two arrays inside another array, students. So students is an array of a list of students, right? An array of students. And this each array is the student's details, that is its name and age. So it is an array of details inside an array of students. I hope you get that. Now, in this example, each student is an associative array with their name and age, and they're all inside one big indexed array. So this array has an index of 0, this has an index of 1. But inside this array, this doesn't have an index. It has a key and value pair. So think of it like a spreadsheet. Each row is a student and each column is a detail. Now just be careful of how much nesting you do, because if you nest too deeply, it can get tricky to manage. As for accessing, if we want to access our specific student's name, Bob, we'll have to do it like this. If we type out echo and then students, and inside our square brackets, if we type out 0, look what it is accessing at first. If we leave it at this much, this line of code will access this particular item in students array. But if we want to access Bob, that is the value of our key name, we'll have to type out inside square brackets name as well. Now if I type out a semicolon and then hit refresh, it'll access Bob. And same goes with age. If I want to access the age of Bob, I will have to type out age. If I want to access the age of Jane, I'll have to change the indexed array, because this is in the first, that is the second position, but it is in the index of 1. So I'll have to type out 1, and if I refresh, this will give 22. So that is what a multidimensional array is. Now you've learned the basics of what the types of arrays are in PHP. Let's learn how to loop them. We have already discussed about looping through arrays in our 4th episode, that is loops. Now you can go check it out. But long story short, you do it through the use of for each loop. Now if I create the array from before, that is colors, I'll do it in 2 ways. So first of all, colors will have red and then green. Let's end this with a semicolon. Now if I want to loop through this array of colors, I'll have to use a for each loop. Let's comment this out, and I'll show you the syntax. So for each we'll have to write first the name of the array. For each colors as a color, an individual color, we will echo out that color. So this is the syntax of a for each loop. First you have to write the name of the array that you're looping through, then the individual item that will be stored in this variable. So red will be stored in this variable, it will be echoed out. After that it will move on to green, and the same process repeats. Now if we hit refresh, it will give out red, then green, then blue. Now of course we don't have a br tag, so this will give all of this in the same line. But if we do this, it will give out red, green, and blue. Now that is for looping through an indexed array. But if we have to loop through an associative array, there's a different method for that. Now let's leave this multidimensional array and create a simple array. Okay, if we create a simple array using this name, so this is an associative array. If we want to loop through this, we'll have to use the for each in a different syntax. Since this does not contain just indexed items, it also it also contains names, that is keys and values. We'll have to use a different format of for each. So for each, we'll say person as its key and its value. So each individual key, that is a name, so let's say this name will first be stored as key, and Bob, which is a value, will be stored in value. So this is how you loop through an associative array. So echo out $key, a colon, and then $value. Let's also join in a br tag. Now let's comment this out and hit refresh. This should be students. Okay, now it works. I mistook this as person, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is how you loop through an associative array. So using a for each loop makes it easy to display data like names, prices, or user details, and no need to mess with manual indexing. Now, since you have learned how to loop through arrays, I will show you some useful array functions, and I'll start from count. So we'll take our colors as an example. If you want to know how many items are in an array, we use count. Now how you do that is, first you create a variable called count, and then use our count array function and a set of parentheses and the array that you want to count the items of. So if you type this out, it should output to 3, since there are 3 items in our colors array. Oh, I did not echo out count, so it did not output to anything. So if we do this, it should output to 3. Now if we add another color called yellow, it should output to 4, since there are 4 items. And that is how you use count. It tells you how many items there are in an array. If you want to add an item to the end of an array, you use array push. So array push the name of the array you want to push into, that is colors, and the item that you want to push. So let's say purple. And this adds the item to the array. Now if we echo out colors, so echo colors, it should give out. Okay, I forgot about that. Let's use a for each loop. So for each, and then colors as color, we will echo out the colors with a br tag as well. So as you can see, it outputs purple as well. So purple has been added, and that too at the end of an array. So that is how you use array push. And meanwhile, unset is used to remove items from an array. So comment this all out, and then after that I'll use unset. So after using unset, and then the array you want to remove it from, so colors, and the indexed item that you want to remove. So for suppose you want to remove green, you can type out its index. So 1 is the index of green. Now this line essentially removes green from our colors array. And now to demonstrate that, I'll uncomment this, cut it, and paste it below this. So let's see. So as you can see, it has removed green. So it's red, blue, and then yellow only. Okay, that is how you use unset. If you wanted to remove blue, you could type out 2, and then blue would be removed. If you wanted to remove yellow, you could type out 3, and then yellow will be removed. So that is how you use unset. Now for our final array function, it's in array. It checks whether or not a given item or a string or any item is in an array. So first of all, you comment all this I'll comment all this, and then I'll store it in a variable called contains. I'll use in underscore array. So let's see if red is in our array of colors. So colors, this should be colors, and then after that we'll echo out contains. It outputs to 1, which is essentially true. So you'll use these functions all the time, especially when building forms, shopping carts, or anything with dynamic content. An awesome job! Today you learned how to create and manage different types of arrays. Those were indexed, associative, and multidimensional arrays. And you also learned how to loop through them and use powerful built-in functions. And as arrays are foundations for storing and organizing data in PHP, mastering them is a big step forward. And in the next episode, we will be covering functions, how to write reusable blocks of code to keep your programs clean and efficient. Thanks for watching, and see you later.